Now let me ask you something, and I want you to be honest with yourself. At the end of your day, when the sun has dipped below the horizon and the quiet of the evening begins to settle in, do you feel a profound sense of accomplishment and progress? Do you look back on the hours and see a day well spent? A day that moved you even a tiny step closer to the person you want to become, to the life you aspire to live? Or if we're being truly candid, do you sometimes wonder where the hours went? Do you find yourself feeling like time slipped through your fingers, like you were more of a spectator to your day than its active creator? Are you truly the architect of your time? Or do you find yourself, more often than not, its victim, swept along by the currents of circumstance, obligation, and the path of least resistance? This, my friends, is the universal challenge, isn't it? It's a struggle that echoes through the human experience. We all grapple with it. Time management, that elusive skill, procrastination, that cunning thief of dreams, the feeling of being overwhelmed by the sheer volume of daily demands, the endless to-do lists, the constant pull of distractions. We know this feeling. It's a heavy cloak, isn't it? And yet, coexisting with this struggle burning brightly within each of us is a deep, almost primal desire for a life of purpose, a life of productivity, a life that means something. We yearn to feel that our days count, that we are making a difference, that we are moving forward, not just treading water. We want to build something significant, something lasting, a legacy, a successful career, strong relationships, a vibrant inner life. This is where a shift in perspective becomes not just helpful, but absolutely essential. You see, for many years I've talked about the philosophies that shape our lives. And one of the most profound truths I've come to understand is this: life, in its grand sweep and its intricate details, is not primarily shaped by grand, infrequent events. It's not the lightning strike of luck or the sudden, unexpected windfall that determines your destiny. Life is the sum total of our daily choices, our daily disciplines. It's the quiet consistency of small, seemingly insignificant actions, repeated day after day, that sculpts the masterpiece of a life well lived. The idea that mastering these small choices, these daily decisions, is the true key to mastering life itself. That's what we're going to explore. It's about recognizing that you hold the chisel, and each day, you make the marks that will ultimately reveal the form of your life. So, over our time together here, we're going to delve into this. We're going to unpack it. First, we'll explore the truly profound and often underestimated power of these daily choices. We'll look at how these tiny acts, like single threads, weave together the fabric of our existence. Then we'll journey into what I call the philosophy of discipline. And let me tell you, it's not what you might think. We'll reframe discipline not as a punishment, not as a restrictive cage, but as a creative force, a tool of liberation and empowerment. After that, because philosophy without action is just theory, we'll get practical. We'll discuss strategies for identifying, and more importantly, implementing the key daily disciplines, those foundational habits that can create a ripple effect of positive change throughout your life. And finally, we'll look at the magnificent compounding effect of these choices. How these consistent, disciplined actions, like pennies saved and invested, grow exponentially over time, leading to a future rich with success, fulfillment, and the deep satisfaction of knowing you built it, one deliberate day at a time. Are you ready? Are you ready to consider that the power to reshape your future doesn't lie in some distant tomorrow, but in the choices you make today, this very hour? Good. Then let's begin. Let's talk about these small choices, these daily decisions. It's a simple principle, really, but its implications are vast. Life, in essence, is a tapestry. And this grand, intricate tapestry is woven from the threads of countless daily decisions. Think about it: what you choose to eat for breakfast, or whether you choose to eat breakfast at all. The choice to hit the snooze button one more time, or to rise with purpose. The choice to read a chapter of an inspiring book, or to scroll endlessly through social media. The choice to make that difficult phone call, or to put it off until tomorrow, which so often becomes never. Each of these, in isolation, might seem trivial, inconsequential. What does it matter, we might ask? It's just one little thing. But here's a phrase I've shared many times, and it's crucial here. What is easy to do is also easy not to do. It's easy to read 10 pages of a good book each day. It's also easy not to do it. It's easy to take a brisk walk for 30 minutes. It's also easy not to do it. It's easy to write a thank you note, to express a word of appreciation, to plan your next day before the current one ends. And it's equally easy not to do any of those things. And it is precisely in these easy not to do choices that the foundations of success or failure, happiness or regret, are laid. These are the small choices that, make no mistake, make all the difference. Now why? Why are these seemingly insignificant choices so incredibly critical? Let's unpack that. Firstly, these small choices establish momentum. Think of a flywheel, a massive, heavy wheel. Getting it started takes effort, doesn't it? But each small push, each consistent effort adds to its motion. And soon, the flywheel is spinning with a power all its own. And it becomes easier to keep it going than it was to start it. Your daily positive choices are like those pushes. Choosing to get up a little earlier to work on a personal goal. Choosing to eat a healthy meal. Choosing to learn something new. Each act builds on the last. You start to create a positive feedback loop. Success in one small area fuels your confidence and desire to tackle another. Conversely, the choice to procrastinate, to indulge in negative habits, also creates momentum, but in the opposite direction, pulling you further away from your aspiration. Secondly, these small choices build character. Character isn't forged in a single heroic moment. Character is the cumulative result of your everyday decisions. When you consistently choose the slightly harder right over the easier wrong, when you choose discipline over indulgence, responsibility over evasion, you are, brick by brick, building the edifice of a strong and admirable character. Each time you keep a promise to yourself, however small, you strengthen your integrity. Each time you push through discomfort to complete a task, you build resilience. These are not abstract qualities, they are the tangible outcomes of your daily actions. Your habits, formed by these choices, become the very essence of who you are. Thirdly, and perhaps most profoundly, your small choices reflect your underlying personal philosophy. Now, philosophy might sound like a lofty term, something for academics in ivory towers. But let me assure you, everyone has a personal philosophy. It's simply the set of beliefs and principles that guide your judgments and decisions. And it's this personal philosophy that drives your daily choices, whether you're conscious of it or not. If your philosophy is one of "I'll do it later," or "it doesn't really matter," or "I deserve a break," then your choices will naturally reflect that, leading to a life of procrastination, neglect, and unfulfilled potential. But if your philosophy is one of "every day counts," "excellence is my standard," "I am responsible for my own success," then your choices will align with that, leading you towards achievement and fulfillment. As I've often said, success is neither magical nor mysterious. Success is the natural consequence of consistently applying the basic fundamentals. And those basic fundamentals are enacted through your daily choices. What you do every day is a direct reflection of what you truly believe about yourself and about life. Let's try to illustrate this. Imagine two individuals, John and Sarah. They start at roughly the same place. Similar education, similar opportunities, similar aspirations. John drifts. He figures life will sort itself out. In the morning, he hits the snooze button multiple times, rushes through his routine, and grabs whatever is quickest for breakfast, often something sugary that gives him a quick spike and then a crash. During his commute, he listens to mindless radio or scrolls through social media feeds. At work, he does what's required, but rarely more. He avoids challenging tasks, tells himself he'll get to them when he feels more inspired. Evenings are for television, for passive entertainment. He tells himself he's relaxing, recharging. He might have a vague notion of wanting to get ahead, maybe start a side business or learn a new skill, but the someday for that never seems to arrive. The books on his shelf gather dust. The idea of planning his day seems like too much effort. It's easy to live like John, isn't it? Easy to do these things, or rather, easy not to do the alternatives. Now consider Sarah. Sarah decides she's going to be intentional. She gets up 30 minutes earlier than she absolutely has to. She uses that time to read something uplifting or educational or to review her goals for the day. She plans her day the night before, identifying her most important tasks. She chooses a nutritious breakfast that fuels her body and mind. During her commute, she listens to an audiobook or a podcast that teaches her something new. At work, she tackles the most important tasks first, even if they're difficult. She actively seeks feedback and looks for ways to add more value. In the evening, she might spend an hour working on a skill she wants to develop. Or she dedicates time to exercise, or she connects meaningfully with her family. Before bed, she takes a few minutes to reflect on her day and express gratitude for what went well. Now, on any given day, the difference between John's day and Sarah's day might seem small. John had his rest. Sarah had her effort. But let's extrapolate. What happens after a year? John is pretty much in the same place, perhaps a little more lethargic, a little more cynical about his prospects. He wonders why things aren't happening for him. Sarah, on the other hand, has read a dozen books, maybe more. She's developed a new skill, perhaps even started that side project. She's built a reputation for being proactive and capable. She feels more energetic, more confident. Now let's stretch it out to 5 years. The gap is no longer a small crack. It's a chasm. John is likely feeling stuck, perhaps resentful. He might be blaming his circumstances, his boss, the economy. He's still waiting for his big break. Sarah has likely achieved significant progress. Her skills have compounded. Her relationships have deepened. Her income has probably increased. Her sense of purpose is strong. She's not just living, she's creating her life. 10 years? The destinations are worlds apart. John is living a life of quiet desperation, wondering what went wrong. Sarah is living a life of achievement and fulfillment, a testament to the power of consistent, positive daily choices. It's like a ship leaving the harbor. If its rudder is set just 1 degree off course, for the first few miles, you'd hardly notice the deviation. It seems insignificant, but continue on that trajectory for hundreds or thousands of miles, and that 1 degree difference will land you in a completely different continent, a vastly different destination than you intended. Those small daily choices are that 1 degree rudder adjustment, seemingly tiny, yet over the voyage of a lifetime, they determine everything. This brings me to another piece of wisdom I often share. Don't major in minor things. What does this mean in the context of daily choices? It means recognizing that some activities, some choices are simply more valuable than others. Spending an hour mindlessly surfing the internet versus spending an hour learning a new software that could advance your career. Both take an hour, but one is a minor activity, a distraction, while the other is a major investment in your future. Learning to distinguish between the majors and the minors in your daily life, and then consistently choosing to focus your time and energy on the majors, is a hallmark of successful people. It's about understanding that not all activities are created equal in their power to move you forward. So I want you to pause for a moment right now. Consider your last 24 hours. Be a neutral observer of yourself. What small choices did you make that moved you closer to your goals? However modestly. Perhaps you chose water over a sugary drink. Perhaps you took the stairs instead of the elevator. Perhaps you spent 15 minutes tidying your workspace. And what choices, if you're being honest, perhaps hindered your progress or kept you stagnant? That extra half hour of scrolling before bed? Putting off that important email? What one small choice could you consciously alter tomorrow? A choice that, if repeated, could begin to steer your ship in a more favorable direction. Don't underestimate the profound impact of that single deliberate alteration. That's where the magic begins, not in grand pronouncements, but in quiet, consistent adjustments. Now, we've talked about the power of small choices. But what enables us to consistently make the right small choices, especially when the easier, less productive options are so readily available? The answer, my friends, is discipline. Discipline. For many, that word lands with a thud. It conjures up images of restriction, deprivation, of a stern taskmaster cracking a whip. It sounds like punishment, doesn't it? Something to be endured, not embraced. But I want to propose a radical reframing of this essential virtue. I want you to see discipline not as a jailer, but as a key. Not as a burden, but as a bridge. I firmly believe that discipline is the means by which we achieve true freedom. It's the creative force that allows us to take the raw material of our dreams, our aspirations, and mold them into tangible reality. Think about it. True freedom isn't the absence of structure. It's the ability to choose your own structure. The freedom to live the life you desire doesn't come from an anything-goes mentality. It comes from the disciplined application of effort towards clearly defined goals. The undisciplined person is not free. They are a slave to their moods, their appetites, their whims. They are chained by procrastination, by poor habits, by the tyranny of the urgent. The disciplined person, on the other hand, creates choices for themselves. They build capacity. They open doors. Discipline isn't about limiting yourself. It's about empowering yourself to transcend your current limitations. It's the art of choosing what you want most over what you want now. Why is this reframing so critically important? Because your perception shapes your reality. If you view discipline as a negative, as a form of self-punishment, you will naturally resist it. Every attempt to be disciplined will feel like a battle against yourself. You'll associate it with pain, with sacrifice in the worst sense of the word. And who willingly embraces pain? But if you can shift your perspective, if you can begin to see discipline as a positive, as a tool for creation, for empowerment, for achieving the very things you most desire, then your relationship with it changes entirely. You move from resistance to willing adoption. You start to see it as your ally, your partner in crafting the life you envision. This connects directly to one of the most fundamental choices we all face. A choice I've spoken about countless times. We must all suffer one of two things: the pain of discipline, or the pain of regret, or disappointment. Now let that sink in. There's no escaping discomfort entirely. Life involves effort. Growth involves stretching. The pain of discipline is the focused, intentional effort required to do the hard things now. To get up early, to exercise when you'd rather rest, to save money when you'd rather spend, to study when you'd rather be entertained, to make the sales call you're dreading. This pain is often front-loaded. It's an investment. And yes, it can be challenging. But then there's the other pain, the pain of regret. This is the pain that comes from looking back and realizing what could have been. The pain of missed opportunities, of unfulfilled potential, of goals unreached, not because of a lack of ability, but because of a lack of consistent effort. This pain is insidious. It often doesn't hit you full force in the moment of an undisciplined choice. It creeps in later, a slow burning ache that can last a lifetime. It's the heavier pain by far. The pain of discipline weighs ounces. The pain of regret weighs tons. When you truly understand this equation, discipline stops looking like a punishment and starts looking like a wise, proactive, and empowering choice. It's the choice to pay the price today for a better tomorrow, rather than enjoying today and paying a far greater price in the future. Choosing discipline isn't about denying yourself pleasure. It's about choosing the deeper, more lasting pleasure of achievement, of progress, of becoming the person you are capable of being. It's about choosing the satisfaction of mastery over the fleeting gratification indulgence. Consider the artist, hunched over their canvas for hours, meticulously applying strokes of paint. Is this discipline a punishment? Or is it the joyful, focused effort through which they bring their vision to life, creating something beautiful and meaningful where nothing existed before? Think of the musician, practicing scales and exercises for hours each day. Is this drudgery? Or is it the pathway to fluency, to expression, to the ability to move hearts and stir souls with their music? Consider the athlete, pushing their body through rigorous training, day after day, in heat and cold, rain or shine. Is this self-inflicted torture, or is it the dedicated process of honing their strength, their skill, their endurance, so they can perform at their peak and achieve their competitive goals. In each of these cases, discipline is not a negative. It is the very engine of creation and achievement. It is the joyful path to mastery and self-expression. These individuals don't see their disciplined efforts as a burden. They see them as the necessary and often exhilarating steps toward a desired outcome. They have embraced discipline as their ally. Let's bring it closer to home. How can establishing a discipline create more in your day-to-day life? Consider the discipline of a consistent morning routine. Perhaps you decide to wake up an hour earlier to read, plan, exercise, or meditate. Initially, that alarm might feel like a punishment, but what happens when you stick with it? That disciplined hour, carved out of your morning, doesn't just add 60 minutes to your day. It can transform the quality of all your subsequent hours. You start the day with a sense of accomplishment, with clarity, with increased energy. This positive momentum carries you forward. You're less reactive, more proactive. You might find you get more done by noon than you used to accomplish all day. That single discipline has, in effect, created more productive time, more mental space, more energy. Or take the discipline of tracking your finances. It might seem tedious to note down every expense, to create a budget. But what does this discipline create? It creates awareness. It creates control. It creates the possibility of saving, of investing, of achieving financial goals that once seemed out of reach. It transforms you from a passive observer of your financial life to its active manager. As I've often emphasized, choosing discipline leads to the profound pleasure of achievement. There's a unique satisfaction, a deep sense of pride that comes from setting a challenging goal and then, through consistent, disciplined effort, reaching it. This isn't the fleeting pleasure of a momentary indulgence. This is the robust, self-affirming joy that comes from knowing you set your mind to something and saw it through. It builds self-respect, it builds confidence, and it's a pleasure that feeds on itself, motivating you to tackle even greater challenges. The more you experience the rewards of discipline, the less it feels like a sacrifice, and the more it feels like a wise and wonderful investment in yourself. So I ask you to reflect. In what area of your life do you currently view discipline as a burden, as something to be resisted or avoided? Maybe it's with your health, your finances, your professional development, or even your relationships. How could reframing it, seeing it not as a restriction but as a powerful tool for creation and freedom, fundamentally change your approach? What could you create in that area of your life if you were to befriend discipline, to harness its positive power? Think about that, because the way you answer that question and the actions you take based on that answer can unlock extraordinary potential. We've established the incredible power of small choices and reframed discipline as a creative, empowering force. Now, this is where the rubber meets the road, as they say. It's one thing to understand these principles. It's another entirely to weave them effectively into the fabric of your daily life. And here's an important insight. Not all disciplines are created equal in their impact. This brings us to the idea of keystone disciplines, or as some call them, keystone habits. A keystone in architecture is the central stone at the apex of an arch, locking all the other stones into position. It's the piece that holds everything together. Similarly, a keystone discipline is one of those few critical disciplines that, when consistently practiced, can trigger a cascade of positive changes in other, seemingly unrelated areas of your life. It creates a positive ripple effect. Why is it so important to focus on identifying these keystone disciplines? Well, life is complex, and the sheer number of things we could be doing, the habits we could be forming, can be utterly overwhelming. If you try to change everything all at once, to implement a dozen new disciplines simultaneously, you're likely setting yourself up for frustration and failure. It's like trying to juggle too many balls before you've mastered juggling even two. You end up dropping them all. My approach has always been pragmatic. Focus on the fundamentals. Focus on the things that yield the greatest return for the effort invested. Identifying and concentrating on one, two, or perhaps three keystone disciplines allows you to leverage your willpower and energy more effectively. By making progress in these critical areas, you build momentum and confidence, which then makes it easier to cultivate other positive habits. It's about working smarter, not just harder. Success in many ways is a numbers game, but it's also about knowing which numbers, which actions count the most. So how do we go about identifying these potential keystone disciplines in our own lives? It requires a bit of honest self-reflection. Think about the major areas of your life. 1. Personal development and growth. This is about who you are becoming. A powerful keystone discipline here is often daily reading. And I don't mean just skimming headlines or social media. I mean dedicating even 15-30 minutes a day to reading books and materials that expand your mind, teach you new skills, offer new perspectives, or inspire you. What happens when you read consistently? You gather new ideas. Your vocabulary expands. Your ability to think critically improves. You might find yourself more knowledgeable, more articulate, more insightful. This can then spill over into your career, your relationships, your decision-making. Another keystone here could be daily journaling or reflection. Taking time to process your thoughts, clarify your goals, and learn from your experience. 2. Health and vitality. Your physical well-being underpins everything else. If you don't have your health, what do you truly have? A classic keystone discipline here is regular exercise. When you consistently engage in physical activity, whether it's a brisk walk, a gym session, a swim, or yoga, it doesn't just improve your physical fitness. People who exercise regularly often report better sleep, improved mood, increased energy levels throughout the day, sharper focus, and even a tendency to make healthier food choices. It's a domino effect. Another could be the discipline of mindful eating or consistent hydration. 3. Productivity and achievement. Career goals. This is about what you are accomplishing. A fundamental keystone discipline is daily planning and prioritization. Taking just 10-15 minutes each evening to review your progress and plan your top priorities for the next day can revolutionize your output. When you start your day knowing exactly what you need to focus on, you're less likely to get sidetracked by distractions or caught up in low-value activities. This single habit can lead to reduced stress, increased efficiency, and a greater sense of control and accomplishment. Another could be the discipline of eating the frog, tackling your most difficult or important task first. To identify your potential keystone disciplines, ask yourself these questions. What one habit, if I developed it, would have the most significant positive impact on my overall life? What discipline, if consistently practiced, would help me solve multiple problems or achieve multiple goals simultaneously? What change would create the most powerful positive momentum for me? Once you've identified 1 or 2 potential keystone disciplines, how do you implement them? This is where so many well-intentioned efforts fall apart. Here's some advice. Start small, ridiculously small if necessary. Don't try to go from zero to hero overnight. If you want to start reading, don't commit to an hour a day if you haven't read a book in years. Start with 1 page or 5 minutes. If you want to exercise, start with a 10-minute walk. The goal initially is not massive results, but unwavering consistency. Make it so easy to succeed that you can't say no. You can always build from there once the habit takes root. Remember, what's easy to do is also easy not to do. So make the doing incredibly accessible. 2. Be unwaveringly consistent. This is the magic ingredient. It's not what you do occasionally that shapes your life, but what you do consistently. Aim for an unbroken chain. If you miss a day and life happens, don't beat yourself up. Just get right back on track the very next day. Don't let one missed day become 2, then 3, then a complete abandonment of the discipline. The power is in the repetition. 3. Track your progress. Success is a numbers game. Keep a simple log, a checklist, a journal. Mark off each day you successfully practice your new discipline. This visual evidence of your progress is incredibly motivating. It provides a sense of accomplishment and makes you less likely to book the streak. You're building proof for yourself that you are a person who follows through. 4. anticipate and prepare for obstacles. What are the common culprits that derail new disciplines? Procrastination, for sure. That little voice that says, I'll do it later. Or, I'm too tired. Or, it's not that important today. Lack of motivation is another. Sometimes you just won't feel like it. This is where your why comes in. Remind yourself why you committed to this discipline in the first place. What's the bigger purpose it serves? Have strategies ready. If your discipline is a morning workout, lay out your clothes the night before. If it's writing, have your notebook and pen ready. Remove the friction. And when those obstacles arise, when that easy crowd beckons, when the temptation to take the path of least resistance is strong, remember this piece of advice. Don't join an easy crowd. You won't grow. Go where the expectations and the demands to perform are high. Now, how do you apply this when you're working on your own disciplines? You create those high expectations for yourself. You become your own demanding coach, but also your own most encouraging cheerleader. You refuse to settle for mediocrity in your own efforts. You hold yourself to a standard of excellence, not out of harshness, but out of a deep respect for your own potential. You raise your own bar. You decide that good enough isn't good enough when it comes to the habits that shape your destiny. This isn't about perfection. It's about persistent, earnest effort. It's about committing to the process. So let's get very practical with our reflection point here. If you could consistently implement just one new discipline starting tomorrow that you believe would have the most significant positive ripple effect in your life, what would it be? Don't overthink it. What's the first thing that comes to mind? Now, what is the very first, smallest, almost laughably simple step you can take to begin implementing that discipline? Not next week, not when conditions are perfect. What can you do tomorrow, or even today, to lay the first stone? That tiny step, my friend, is the beginning of transforming your abstract desire into concrete reality. We've journeyed together through some fundamental ideas, haven't we? We've explored the quiet yet immense power of your daily choices. Those seemingly small decisions that, like individual brushstrokes, collectively create the portrait of your life. We've reframed discipline not as a restrictive chain, but as a liberating, creative tool, the very key that unlocks the door to your highest aspirations. And we've delved into the practical wisdom of identifying and implementing those critical keystone habits, those foundational disciplines that can trigger a magnificent cascade of positive change across every facet of your existence. If there's one central theme, one undeniable truth that I hope resonates deep within you from our time together, it is this: you are the architect. You are the designer. You hold the plans, and you wield the tools. Circumstance does not have to be your jailer. The past does not have to dictate your future. The power to shape, to mold, to build the life you truly desire resides in the choices you make, day by day, hour by hour. Reiterate this to yourself. Let it become a mantra. Each day offers a fresh canvas. Each sunrise brings with it a new opportunity to choose wisely, to act with purpose, to live with intention. It doesn't matter what yesterday looked like. It doesn't matter the mistakes made or the opportunities missed. Today is new. As I've often said, your life does not get better by chance. It gets better by change. And that change begins with the choices of this day. Your future is still a work of art, a magnificent structure that can be started or restarted at any moment you choose. The design might need refining. The foundations might need strengthening. But the potential for a masterpiece is always there, waiting for your deliberate hand. Understand, too, that this process of mastering your days, of becoming the disciplined architect of your life, is not a one-time fix. It's not a destination you arrive at and then declare, I'm done. Personal growth, the cultivation of discipline, the refinement of your choices. This is an ongoing journey. It's a continuous process of learning, adapting, and improving. There will be days when you falter, when old habits try to reassert themselves. That's part of the human experience. The key is not to expect perfection, but to commit to persistent progress. It's about dusting yourself off, learning the lesson, and stepping back onto the path with renewed resolve. As with the seasons, there will be times of planting, times of cultivating, times of harvesting, and yes, even times of necessary rest and reflection. before the next cycle of growth begins. Embrace this journey, for it is in the striving, in the consistent effort, that much of the richness of life is found. So let me leave you with this final thought, a simple truth that encapsulates everything we've discussed. The simple truth is, the way you live your days, ultimately the way you live your life. There is no grand separation between the two. Your life is not something that will magically appear in the future, fully formed. It is being built or neglected in the here and now, in the mundane and the magnificent moments of each passing day. Therefore, I urge you, become the conscious, deliberate architect of your daily choices. Don't let your days happen to you. Make them happen for you. Embrace the liberating, empowering, creative power of discipline. Choose the discomfort of effort over the far heavier burden of regret. Identify those keystone habits that will lay the strongest foundation for the future you desire, and commit to them with unwavering consistency, starting small but dreaming big. And then, watch. Watch with anticipation and with gratitude as each well-chosen, well-crafted day contributes its unique strength and beauty to the magnificent structure of a life well lived. A life of purpose, a life of achievement, a life of fulfillment, a life that stands as a testament to the incredible power that resides within you. The chisel is in your hands. The design is yours to conceive. The raw materials are the hours of this very day. Begin.